The following is intended for mature audiences.
Hello, Screamers.
Welcome into another edition of this variety podcast, Straight from Hell. With big billionaire weddings being more tone deaf than ever before, heat waves triggering invasions from poisonous sea creatures, and Sean Combs only guilty on 2 out of 5 charges. Also, let's not forget AI completely wiping out creativity. I hope you all are hanging in there. I mean, I barely am. I'm doing a full episode of Ralph versus the Rot this episode with your questions, suggestions, my advice, and submissions that I have received through the podcast and my personal Instagram, as well as a podcast email, because I've been sleeping on some, admittedly, not because I don't want to react to them, but because some episodes have so much information and so many topics that it's kind of hard to really squeeze everything into an hour. I mean, I wish we all had the attention span for long form content, but well, you know. With that said, sinister subjects, topics will return next episode, but that doesn't mean we won't dive into some spooky shit. Anyway, I'm not a fan of this whole over-explaining shit, but I'm just being transparent here. So, as always, if you would like me to share an experience of yours, share something you find creepy or interesting, or simply want to ask me a question, send an email to screamsocietypodcast@gmail.com or head on over to beacons.ai/The Scream Society and click on the Society submissions link. Remember, everything remains anonymous. It's so crazy that I've now memorized that whole spiel right there. Anyway, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it.
Welcome to a world where darkness and mystery converge. Navigate the depths of horror and true crime and join a society beyond the ordinary, where buzzworthy topics, paranormal tales, and listener-submitted experiences blend into a realm of the unknown. You have crossed into a place where the unusual and the terrifying are just the beginning. My name is Ralph Anthony, and welcome to the Scream Society podcast.
I don't know why I'm nervous right now. Holy shit. Okay. First question. What has been your favorite moment from your podcast journey? I do have to say, at the beginning of this whole journey, I was doing an episode and I was covering the frantic Area 51 caller who called into this old radio show called Art Bell Coast to Coast. And they had called in just frantic and very upset, just exposing pretty much everything that was going on in Area 51 since they had formerly worked there. It was just about extraterrestrials and alien spacecraft and just all of that really interesting stuff. During that, I ended up calling my dad just randomly. I believe the episode was called Alien Stories with Dad, which was from the podcast pre-rebrand, which is only available on Spotify, Screamcore Podcast. Just in case you wanted to check that out, please don't. It makes me cringe. But yeah, it was just really cool to just call my dad and put him on the spot for him to share his experiences, because there was a time where he saw this really weird object floating over a barn. Another one was where he would see shadows in his TV while he was playing his video games, and just he has his own little experiences, and he's not really one to want to put it out there. He doesn't like a lot of attention. He's also kind of a skeptic himself. He needs hard facts to want to believe something. But yeah, I would have to say that's been my favorite moment from this journey so far. And I need to get him back on, because he knows a lot about cryptids and extraterrestrials and just gods and all of this cool stuff. And it would be kind of cool to pick his brain in one episode, or maybe 2. We'll see. Next question. That was a good one. How did you get into true crime / spooky stuff? I lived with my paternal grandmother and my grandpa, and she always watched true crime shows like Dateline, Cold Case Files, and other true crime shows. And we only had one TV back then, because in those days you would watch whatever whoever had the TV was watching. Even before the whole like the bloody shit, I was obsessed with kid horror, like Goosebumps and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and all of those like cool like 90s creepy shows and children's books. But yeah, so I live with my grandparents, and sometimes family members would go through rough patches, let's call them that, and move back home or move in with my grandparents, right? So one of my cousins who was in and out of prison moved in with us, which sounds crazy now that I think about it. And one time he showed me this VHS called Banned from Television, which was this really disturbing compilation of people being either executed or dying in accidents and other really intense situations, right? So that kind of tickled my brain as well and made me more curious about violence and stuff like that. And plus he would tell me just the craziest. I was like 8 or 9, maybe 10, but he would just tell me the craziest fucking stories. It made sense why he was in prison, okay? And I also ended up snooping and finding his porn VHS, but that's a completely different story. So yeah, so all that kind of shaped my interest today, and probably why I've always been drawn to dark things, and why I've always been interested and curious about violence, and why humans resort to these terrible tactics, if you will. So now we're here. And if I can continue to put all of that into something I would call positive, informational, and add some entertaining elements, then I'm doing something right here, right? And I love connecting with people and doing Q&As. Do you script everything or just vibe and talk? So I used to go off of a script when I would do my narration style with the true crime and paranormal cases, obviously. Even with listener submissions too, I wanted to be the gay version of Unsolved Mysteries so badly. So like I said earlier, if you listen to the old podcast, you can definitely tell that I was trying to be like moody and spooky, and I would talk like this, and I would tell stories like this and change it around to sound very dramatic. And even a few episodes this season, I had segments where I would narrate pieces, again, that I would record in the like really creepy voice, which was cool. But what I'm loving about these 2025 episodes is the fact that I wanted to take a more authentic approach towards telling you all these cases. I wanted to basically feel like I'm sitting with you on the couch and telling you about the crazy shit going on. So no, as I don't have a full-on script, I do have my notes and vibe and talk off of those. I definitely love the 2025 version of this podcast of mine, and just want to keep making the most authentic content out there. But I also love how the show has grown more. More of you are sending me like TikToks and links and make requests on cases, which really helps and make this a community effort. So I'm also really grateful for that aspect. We need more Ralph lore. Ralph lore. Like, what exactly are we trying to find out here? I never really like to get into this, but one of the most asked questions always pertains to if I'm dating or if I'm going to partake in sex work. It's just the world we live in, and I've accepted it. I respect sex workers, but I'm way too shy and self-conscious to dive into all of that. And as for dating, I don't want a relationship, who I'm dating or who I sleep with, to be what defines me. This podcast isn't the platform for that. And even if I did go into details about all of that, there's always this sense of ownership that people think they have over it. It's really strange. What is an ick you have with other gay men? No comment. No, okay. Just in all seriousness here, I would like to say that I appreciate you for taking time to send something in. However, I think if I were to answer this question the way you would want would not really be productive on my part. I'm so nervous right now. I think the community, and definitely not just gay men, but the whole community, have targets on their backs. I'm not saying we should panic, but I definitely think we should pay attention and disrupt what's going on right now. We also have to look from within the community and not tear one another down for the sake of entertainment. Like I said last episode, there are enough people misrepresenting the community already out there. So out of respect, I don't think answering this would be the best idea. But I also didn't want to leave you on red. So I just want to tell you that I love you for submitting. A collab or guest you regret. Y'all are so shady. And I feel like I've been asked this question before, but actually, yeah. Now that I think about it, yeah, I'm gonna just go all in. I don't care anymore. I have two that I've done and have come to regret, unfortunately. And let me tell you why. One, and I should have used better judgment here. So there was a collab I did with someone whose values didn't align with mine. That should have been red flag number one. But I'm someone who doesn't stray away from having a combo with someone who has opposing views. However, me then was a little more timid, especially as this like baby podcaster, and a little behind the scenes here. But I had to cut out so much from the episode because this person's views were so close-minded and outdated. And in retrospect, I really wish I could go back and do that collab differently. Like, I could have turned that into a learning experience or actually just not have done it. But again, that was when I first started doing this and didn't really want any conflict. I was being a people pleaser, which is one of the reasons why I needed to reboot and put out something that was more outspoken, myself, and free. I just cared too much and wanted to be liked. And also, people with years of closed-mindedness don't really know how to open that mind up, right? So yeah, I'd say that collab. And another one, all I will say on that is sometimes the block button is the best weapon you have, okay? Because when someone turns every conversation into a boundary that they're willing to cross, especially after being very clear with them, especially when it came to things I never asked to see, goodbye. I don't wish anyone any ill will or anything like that, but I'm simply sharing this experience. We just wish them well. Let's move on. What horror celebs have you met or wish to meet? Sadly, I haven't met any. I've met other celebs or have had encounters with some, like there's Lana Del Rey, who we just randomly happened to stumble upon her in this random alley in LA, behind the El Rey Theater, where she was going to perform that night. I also gave her a rose during her show, so that was always a really cool experience. Lady Gaga, who I almost had a selfie with, but I was pushed out of the way. I have a selfie with Robin Roberts from Good Morning America, which is so random. I think, oh my God, no, wait. I've had a Jennifer Love Hewitt at Comic-Con in San Diego. I think it was like 2007, if that counts. But yeah, I would definitely love to meet like obviously Scream and Charmed alumni like Neve Campbell, Rose McGowan, David Arquette, Skeet, Matthew. I would love to meet Sarah Michelle Gellar, the queen. From Charmed, obviously Holly Marie Combs, and unfortunately someone I'll never have the chance to meet is Shannon Doherty, who just passed away last year. But as a little bonus, someone I would never want to meet and would probably fight with would probably be Jamie Lee Curtis. Would you ever do a live show or a meetup? I'd love to get to that point. That's where I want to go eventually. like, comment, and share, just to have an interactive experience where members from the audience could walk up to a mic and share their experiences, so myself and the rest of the audience could get creeped out together. Like, how badass would that be? And ask questions and just be really awesome. And maybe even have a professionally produced version of the podcast where it would be all visual. I'm not trying to reach fame. I just want to reach a platform that's big enough to where I can have opportunities. Will you do a review on the new 28 Years Later? And I know what you did last summer. Absolutely. 28 Years Later, unlikely. And can I just be real for a moment? I went back recently and rewatched the original and had a horrible time. No hate to anyone who loves them, but they're not for me. 28 Weeks Later, maybe, but after the negative reviews for 28 Years Later, the most recent one, and the whole like big dicked alphas fiasco, I think I'm good. If you could recast your favorite horror movie, who's your cast? These recast questions are always so hard because I love most of the cast already. Okay, first two Scream films, Jamie Kennedy, get the fuck out. Do you believe sleeper cells really are in the United States since the bombing in Iran? Oh, we're getting political now, right? Okay. Yes, I think it's true. But I also find it to be so interesting. And just to kind of fill those of you who are not familiar with what sleeper cells are, a sleeper cell is allegedly a group of like secret agents or operatives who go to a country and they live quietly, and most often it's for a long period of time, like years, blending into everyday life while waiting to be told to carry out some attack of some sort, or like espionage, or just other missions for a foreign government or extremist group. And they're called sleepers because they stay inactive or quote unquote asleep until they get these orders to act out. And like, what is crazy about this is that during that waited period, like, they might get like normal jobs, they get families, they just do these daily routines to blend in and avoid drawing attention. Like, you just give your whole life away for these groups and governments. And yeah, so like, once they're prompted, they can carry out what they came to do, which is like a terrorist attack or gathering info, like all of that kind of stuff. Like, imagine devoting your life to an extremist group to the point you have this whole forced fake life with real people until someone says to jump and you have to. Like, that's wow. That's all I have to say. But I do wonder if anyone has ever got so attached to their fake life, their fabricated lives, that they refuse to follow orders when they're given them. Like, I do wonder that. So yeah. After the bombing in Iran this year, there were talks of the sleeper cells residing here in the US. So the short answer to the question is yes. Nothing sounds too extreme anymore at this point. Like, it's so unfortunate. Next, let me read you this DM that I received. The first part says, when I was little, I had an imaginary friend that I now realize was probably something else. He told me things I shouldn't have known, like names, places. It would freak my parents out when I would tell them, and my mom swears I would describe her grandfather in detail, someone I'd never seen in a photo or met. I forgot about it for years until she recently brought it up, LOL. The hair on my arms are standing up. Anyway, I got this DM and I responded and asked if they had found anything out. And then after she brought it up, I started having dreams about him again. And I share whatever info I'm told to see if it's true or not. Aside from my mom not remembering some things, what she could remember is spot on. Have any of you out there listening had any experiences similar to this? Let me know. But yeah, one thing I didn't really get into as a child, or not get into, but have as a child, was having an imaginary friend. I mean, I would have an imagination and like fake fight guys with my fake guns, but not like actually like sit and talk to someone and have conversations and stuff like that. But yeah, like after some of these paranormal events that I learn of, what if some of the children with imaginary friends are really communicating with ghosts or entities or something, right? Like that's kind of creepy if you think about it. But I actually I have a cousin who, when she was just a toddler, she saw a man in my aunt's house. So the story my aunt told us was, one day she was preparing lunch or something, and my cousin was playing in the living room. Nobody was home but the two of them, right? So my cousin calls out to my aunt asking why my uncle is standing in the hallway doing nothing, but my uncle was at work. So basically, there was speculation that this man she was seeing was my uncle's father, who had passed away and resembled him. But yeah, I need more of this. So if any of you have ever experienced this, shoot me a DM or an email. Welcome into Terrifying But True, the segment where I usually choose one random true crime or paranormal case and do a little deep dive on it. However, sticking to this episode's theme, someone sent in this. I don't even know if this counts as true crime, but the case on Brandon Swanson. This guy called his parents after crashing his car, then saw lights and went missing after screaming. That alone had me interested. Let's get into it. When the unthinkable becomes reality, we find ourselves questioning everything, as some stories are too terrifying but true. So this case goes all the way back to May 14th, 2008 in rural Minnesota. Brandon was 19, had finished classes at Minnesota West Community College. He went out to celebrate with friends in Canby. Now, after midnight, he gets in his car to head home to Marshall, which is where his parents lived. It's dark, it's back roads, he's driving through farmland and gravel roads. There's no lights, no GPS. So around 1:30 in the morning, he drives into a ditch. There's no crash, no injuries, just stuck. His car gets stuck in this ditch. So he calls his parents, and at this point he's calm. He says he's near a town called Lind and asks them to come pick him up. No big deal. So he's describing things like fences, roads, what's around him. His dad even asked him to flash his high beams, but the dad doesn't see anything. And it is now being realized that they are not in the same area. And then mid-conversation, Brandon sees lights, walks toward them, and can be heard on the phone saying, "Oh shit," and then the phone goes dead. And that was the last time anyone ever heard from him. So at first there was no immediate search for Brandon. It was just his parents doing it. His parents also stated that Brandon didn't have a history of disappearing like this. He called for help, he stayed on the phone, and when they found his car, he wasn't near Lind at all. He was 25 miles away near a town called Taunton. Search dogs were brought in and tracked his scent across open fields. He walked through long grass, over gravel, even climbed a couple of fences, and then his scent trail stopped right at the Yellow Medicine River. What's wild is that the dogs picked up the scent again on the other side of the river, like he had made it across, but after that, nothing. No clothing, no phone, no body, no signs of injury, nothing. So let's talk about the theories here. There are a few, and honestly, none of them fully make sense. The first theory here is drowning. Maybe he slipped into the river, got pulled under, and drowned. But that river's been searched multiple times, sonar, divers, you name it, no trace, and the dogs picked up his scent on the other side like he had made it across. Another theory being thrown out is hypothermia or injury, which that night it was around 40 degrees. He could have gotten wet, disoriented, and collapsed, but again, this area has been searched for years and not a single shred of clothing or remains has turned up. A third theory is old wells or farm equipment, because some people think maybe he had fallen into a well or got caught in some kind of machinery. And this is like a huge farmland, but again, nothing was found, and you'd think in 15 years something would have surfaced by now. People also think that foul play could have happened here, like he was walking along roads, Maybe someone drove by, saw him, picked him up, and it ended badly. But again, there's no evidence for that either. But it's one of the only options that authorities have left to go off of. Another theory is voluntary disappearance. I mean, technically, yeah, but he was making plans, calling his parents, asking for help. There's nothing in his life that points to him wanting to disappear on purpose, to live this secret life. And one of the final theories that I have here is, of course, the alien abduction theory, because the strangeness of the disappearance, because no remains, no clues, there's no logical end, the abrupt oh shit moment, no context, no warning. Brandon was walking toward light, so could they have been from something? Some also reference that this area of Minnesota, while it's not really known as a UFO hotspot, it has had occasional sightings reported over the years where people see strange lights or orbs and unexplained aircraft in the sky. And also the story weirdly mirrors other alleged alien abduction cases. So you have that. But yet we're still sitting here with no answers on what happened to Brandon. Now, Brandon's parents didn't just wait around. They pushed hard for change because in 2009, Minnesota passed Brandon's Law, which requires police to take missing adult cases seriously from the beginning. So his story did make a difference there, but the family never really got closure. So what do you think happened to Brandon Swanson? I mean, do you think he drowned? Do you think he got lost? Was he hurt somehow? Or was someone or something else involved? Thank you so much to everyone who submitted in. If you'd like to get your experience, if you'd like to get your request or questions on the podcast, you know where to go. Also, don't forget to check out my merch, scream-society.printify.me. But yeah, thank you so much for listening in, just everything. I'm really happy to be doing this still, and I will get more episodes out more frequently. Trust me, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. But yeah, I just appreciate you all, and I will scare you all on the next episode. Holy shit. Okay.
Thank you for tuning into the Scream Society podcast, hosted, written, produced, and edited by yours truly, Ralph Anthony. Help the society grow by subscribing on your favorite platform and leave a rating and review. I always strive for 5s. Have a horror or paranormal experience? Want me to answer your questions on the show? Submit to beacons.ai/The Scream Society. Connect with the podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Scream Society Podcast. And until next time, I'll scare you on the next episode.